That's it. This is direct substitution, so you're going to have to do what your friend Mr. Little Giraffe is doing right there, and grab a calculator and just substitute everything inside of the calculator. Every x gets replaced with a -4. So f of x equals 2 times -6, sorry if I said a -4, plus 1/4, substitute the x again with a -6 to the third, minus 1/2 times 6 squared plus 3. Now you put that all into the calculator. Alright, so yesterday so many of you were asking if this needs to be in standard form when you plug it in, and it's no. So Mr. Giraffe, he plugged it in, there's his answer, it should be a -81. So that would be your answer for this problem. Now, the next one, they give you two functions, one called f of x, one called g of x. They said if you were to multiply them, what would be the degree? Now keep in mind, degree would mean the biggest exponent. So we're actually not going to finish doing the whole multiplication here because it would just be too crazy. But you should be able to see who your biggest exponent is going to be. And this one is to the 4th. I'm sorry if I put squared. Now, when I take care of this, please keep in mind it is 4x x to the 4th times x squared, which is x to the 6th. If we were to go this way, it would be a -11x to the 4th. And then if we were to do -2x times that would be a -2x to the 3rd. Now, I'm not going to keep going, but so far, the only one that could be your biggest exponent would be from that term, which would be a 6. So that would be your answer. That is your degree. Now, complete factorization. We covered this. This is from 5.4. When you see all these, what do they all have in common? Well, it is an x. If we factor out an x, we get x squared minus 4x minus 12. Now, once you see this here, you should be able to do your little table of factors and sum. I'm looking for the factors of who? -12 that add up to a -4. So it's 1, 12, 2, 6, and 3, 4. Because your middle term is negative, that means your larger number needs to be negative. And of course, it could only be that one. So this would be x plus 2, and x minus 6. This is us factoring all the way. You can't do anything else right there. So we stop there. Next problem. This one, because it has 4 things, it is done by grouping. When you group the first two together and the second two, looking at the first group, what do they both have in common? An x squared. We factor that out, we have x plus 2. When we distribute, it would give us the same thing. Looking at -9x and a -18, what do they both have in common? They're both divisible by 9. So I could factor out a -9 actually. And what do I have left over? X. This would be a +2. That way I could get that -18. So that would give me, this here would give me that, and that there would give me that. Now remember, both of these parentheses need to be the same. If you do get that, perfect. So we have x squared minus 9 from the numbers that are outside of the parentheses, and then we only write this down once. The whole purpose is to get the same thing, and it only comes down once. Look at this. Are we done? Well, here we should still be able to factor it one more step. And that right there would be x plus 3, x minus 3, and that comes down. But when it's asking for the real number solution, basically they want for you to set each one equal to 0. X plus 3 equals to 0, x minus 3 equals to 0, and x plus 2 is equal to 0. And actually solve for x in each one. So this here becomes a negative 3. This one here becomes x equals a positive 3, and that one would become x equals a negative 2. So you just solve each one, and that's it. Now for this next one, the intensity of light emitted by a firefly can be determined by the polynomial. They give it to you. In this first graph, we see it. You're supposed to plug it into the y equals. Once you plug it into the y equals, we do need to understand that T represents temperature and L of T represents the light intensity. Now this here is your x and this here is your y. So it says when my temperature is 20, temperature being your x, we look for 20 here, and my answer would be that right there, 56. So anytime they give you an equation like this, make sure you plug it into the y equals, please. Now this next one, it's like FOIL except one of them has 2 terms and the other one has 3. But basically you distribute x times 3x squared, 3x to the third. X times a negative x squared. X times a negative 5, negative 5x. And then we do the 2 times 3x squared plus 6x squared. 2 times a negative x, negative 2x. And 2 times a negative 5 is a negative 10. Now we should start with the combining. This guy does not have a partner, somebody else to the third, so it stays there. Then the next one would have to be the x squares. So we have a negative x and a plus 6x. That right there would give us a plus 5x squared. And then we do have this guy and this guy that both have an x. So that would become a negative 7x. And then that negative 10 has nobody to be combined to. So then there we go. Now the next one, you do plug it into the calculator. It gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. And then you try to get some points to graph it. Now this one, if we had to describe the behavior, it is an even. And it is a positive. So if you really look at this, it looks like it looks like a little W here. You really just can't see it. And it is open up, so that's why it's positive. Now, once you have your points, you try to graph whatever you really can, and then you kind of draw your W through there. 3, negative 3. That would be right there. I did 0, 6. Now, the other ones, it would be 1, 4.3. 1, 4.3. It's kind of hard, but basically it's coming like this. And then it goes like that, and then it's going to go like that. It'll be something very similar to that. Now Mr. Giraffe and I are done with the lesson.